The Geyer name, it originates from Marr County, from Mount Gilead. When you get away from Marr County, it's Geyer. Spelled the same, pronounced differently.
My theory on that is, when he lived in Mount Gilead, he was poor and his name was Geyer. Then he got all these stores and moved up north and now he's Geyer. That's the only reasoning I have.
I think it got started when they bought their second store up in Mansfield, maybe. And the advertisement on the radio came out Geyer. So was it going to be Geyer? Was it going to be Geyer? So they just decided to stay with both pronunciations. Rick grew up in a family that was just almost the Ward Cleavers and the Junes, but everybody was giving of themselves to not only their family but to the community.
In their early years, Geyer Markets was heavily involved in the poultry processing business. And they put him on the line at the tender age of 9 to pick feathers out of chickens. Well, he failed it miserably. But they did find they took him out of that job and they said, we have to find something for Rick that he's good at. And they found his true love, and he was very talented in sacking potatoes.
Bagging potatoes, that was in the bags, and that was his cousin's job too, I guess. And they always walked 2 miles to work through snow. Never missed a day of work. That's the story.
Well, in high school he played guard, right? And he's only 5'2", 3". He'll probably
Kill you, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how tall he is. Not very tall, but he's 135 pounds and he's playing guard. I mean, he was tough, So, he's always had that spirit and fight in him.
I have one football coach that probably inspired me to do a lot of things because he gave me the chance to play high school football. I wasn't a big guy, very determined, and he gave me that opportunity, and I always said that I want to try to give that type of opportunity to other people in my life. I was very fortunate, most importantly, to have my dad in the business.
His dad was very important to him in growing up in the business world.
His experience in World War II, he's over there for a year and a half, flew 49 missions. I think that's a mission every week and a half. Well, that shows his character. I always look at that because he had the option. I believe after you flew so many missions, you were able to opt out and maybe do ground crew or something like that. So he opted in twice, I believe, through his time there. And it's just unbelievable. And then he came back and opened a business.
He worked all the time. That's what he did, and that's probably where I learned my work ethic. But, we were, like a lot of fathers and sons, as time went on and he had to get out of the business, we grew closer. Our initial store in Mount Gilead, which was created in the early 50s, is still operating, and we changed that format to a Save-A-Lot, and it's still existing today as a Save-A-Lot.
We had 13 stores, a lot of different businesses going on, and trying to manage all that is very tough to do. That was but at the time it was a growth mode, so very aggressive.
So we had some quick growth. Probably, if I go back, it was too quick, too much at the same time. And so we sold one of the Save-A-Lots and we closed the store in Bucyrus.
It's tough. You have to, when you take risks, you have to be able to manage those risks and have a plan B. Because in our industry, anything can happen.
You do run into tough times and challenging times, and you remodel a couple stores that more or less backfire on you. It's not always easy, so you just keep pressing forward.
And now we have, 7 and another small business, so it's manageable now.
13, 14 stores as an independent, and now he's down to 7 or 8. And I don't think you'll find very many independent grocers today.
Exactly.
So he's done something right.
He's competing against giants. There's Giant Eagle, there's Kroger, there's 8,000 grocery companies out there.
Every corner there is a gas station or a drugstore or a dollar store that has taken on milk, bread, cheese, all the things that solely were bought at a grocery store prior to that. And it's a difficult business.
You see grocers getting in a lot of other things. You see non-grocers getting into a lot of food products. So there is an element of competition everywhere. And we didn't have that up till the early 90s. And then you really saw you would see the marketplace change.
The independent still can be alive and well, but you have to be in the proper area to have the customer that expects that service and appreciates the community efforts given by people like me in our industry.
He talks about what's the right blend of products for him, you know. I mean, he kind of knows what type of people go into a store and what is the best products for his store, you know. He's probably not going to sell a lot of sushi and stuff like that.
They know what their clientele wants and where their clientele is. And they build on that.
It's kind of about people, and I think that's the challenge today, trying to bring people in our organizations that it's a different time. I think that's one of our greatest challenges. We worry about big box stores and competition. Getting the right people, training them properly is a challenge for us.
We have a lot of long-term employees. We have a couple that worked for my grandfather. So there's a few people still around from that era.
He's good with everybody. And so no one takes it as a criticism when he wants to change something. And he doesn't feel personally upset if they want to argue that it should be done a different way. So he allows his employees to develop better than many bosses do.
Rick would be the first one to say he's always out in the stores for social visits. When he makes his rounds to the stores, it's to meet our employees, it's to meet the customers, it's to get involved with the other employees.
He appreciates his workers and so forth in the company as much as he appreciates anybody else. And that's under the heading of people, appreciating people.
Rick never met anybody that wasn't a friend. It's just that simple. He gets along with everyone in the world.
You'll be talking to him, and the next thing you know, you look around and he's off talking to somebody else that he's passing by, and he just has a word for everybody and the kindness that he shares with everybody.
In our business, you're dealing with so many different personalities, so that just translates to dealing with people. And obviously, as class president, people liked him, so I can see that. You know, I wasn't around back then, but I can only imagine, you know, his personality back then. I could no doubt in my mind see him being class president.
I've been to events with him, sporting events and other events, where we would be progressing to our seats, wherever it would be, and it would be said, well, where's Rick? Well, come to find out he's back somewhere talking to somebody. He's talking to a total stranger, engrossed in a conversation probably about the sports of the day, and he's just as interested again in what they have to say as what he has to say.
Oh, your dad's Rick. Oh, yeah, I know Rick from way back when. And yeah, I get that a lot, and that's through, I think, the trade associations that he, you know, was part of. He was president, chairman.
In 2004, he was elected into the Ohio Grocers Association, and that's a big deal. That's not a small thing. Because present there were not only his associates from Ohio, but nationally.
It's amazing to me that every organization he ever joins, he becomes the head of it, eventually. He's a real leader in the community, and he's always working to better the area and better the community.
When he sits on a board, it's about what can I do to make it better. It's not about just being a member of the board. He seldom misses a meeting. He's a worker, and he's a contributor.
People get something that they really want to push at a board level that may not, you know, may create conflict amongst the board. He's a very good mediator. He just naturally walks in and says, you know, let's work through this. Let's not fight with each other. We're all on the same team. He doesn't get uptight about things. He just, you know, he kind of jokes around, and he'll make a joke out of a tense situation and relax everybody, and then get everybody to work towards the same goal, the same direction.
Rick has been a longtime member of the Avita Health Systems Board. He was past chairman when it was Galleon Community Hospital. The bank board. He was an active member years ago of the JCs, very active. He was a driving force behind the merger between the community center and the YMCA.
We've tried to contribute to as many of the kids' sports, children, and we can. Not that we haven't contributed to adult sports, but you know, there's in the school systems, and we do pretty good with the school systems and contributing to their ad programs and their sports and music programs.
There's few things that ever happen in our community that Geyer Foods isn't part of it.
we're lucky to have him in this area, and we're lucky that, you know, Rick puts as much effort into trying to support the local communities like he does with his business.
Coming into a family business is very difficult, and you don't really understand till you walk in those shoes. And he is truly diplomatic in nature and has the art of compromise. And thus they have a successful, I think a successful succession plan, and it will become even stronger.
EJ, my son, and he's 38 years old, he finally, I suppose 10 years ago, decided that he wanted to be part of the business. So he's part of the next calling.
As generations go by and you see these other family generations of businesses, they're few and far between, but there is still a small group of independent grocers.
I don't really want to retire, I just kind of want to stay out of the way. I think I can always work, but sometimes you need to turn it over to somebody else. The sun's always shone on me for the last 30-some years, and I'm looking forward to him and him building the staff and moving forward. Now, that's a fun part about succession planning, and we're just very fortunate.